Good evening and welcome to the working session for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. Tonight, we have three discussions. The first one is Highland Hills Small Area Concept Plan. Ms. Solivanti.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a few months since we gave you an update or an official update on this particular project. So tonight we have the concepts final draft presentation, and our consultants, Bob Streeter and John Slack, are here to give that presentation to you. Just so you know, we have been working with staff and with our public utility and some folks to get together the rest of the data per your request as to what it might cost to do this development, how we might phase it, what that looks like. Also incorporated all of the changes from the June workshop where council had a chance to weigh in. So here's the next phase and the next update of all of the information and details for you with a little bit more meat on it. So I will turn it over to our consultants, Bob and John. Thanks.
All right. John and Bob.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, John and Bob, yes. We're a folk rock band. Okay, well, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to just review the status. We're going to walk through the final draft concept by component, and then you have the opportunity for discussion, feedback, and questions. So regarding the project status, this lists all of the meetings and what occurred at those meetings beginning back in September of 2024. Tonight, after many meetings with the council and the neighborhood and the community, we're going to present to you the final draft concept that we think incorporates what the council indicated they want and the most important elements of what the neighborhood indicated they thought was important. In developing that draft concept, we went through many iterations, and we developed, on your direction and neighborhood input, 4 different concepts at the time, and each was evaluated in terms of access, the location of the housing, the impact of the green space trails, stormwater ponds, traffic. A variety of elements were evaluated, and out of these evaluations came the concept you're going to see tonight. So in this final draft concept, John will walk you through the site plan in the order of those 5 elements. Then I will discuss or just present briefly development phasing and budget level estimates, and then I'll talk a little bit about development value and property tax estimates, and then we'll turn it back to you, Mayor and Council, for any questions or discussion. John?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. So I'm going to start with a street network. So what you're seeing here is the proposed street network. On the east side, we connect to 169 on the Beltline. And as you transition up East 31st Street into the site, there's one large loop on the south end of the site. And then that moves to the west, and then there's a loop that takes you down the hill to connect to 8th Avenue. In the blue, you're seeing private vehicle access, so access for those living in the neighborhood. And then the red, we've identified emergency vehicle access. I'm going to highlight the potential connection to East Park Drive. We have 2 options that we've developed based on our last set of conversations. The first option is what we're showing as a 20-foot driving surface. And I say this is a driving surface because this is not intended to be a road. It doesn't have curb or gutter. It's essentially going to be striped as a bicycle lane and a sidewalk, and then it will be signed. It'll have surmountable curbs at both ends, so the connection to 31st and the connection to East Park Drive. The section will be designed to allow for emergency vehicles to support the weight of emergency vehicles to drive onto this, essentially this 20-foot wide lane. But the intent is that it's pedestrian and bicycle oriented. So when an emergency happens, if a fire truck needs to drive on this to connect over to East Park Drive, the design is in place for it to allow it to drive there. But in all intent and purposes, every other time it's being used, it's intended for bicycle and pedestrians.
John, can I ask you a question on
Sure.
that? How do you prevent access of other vehicles?
Well, so at each end, essentially, on 31st, our new 31st Street connection and East Park Drive, there will be a curb. It's going to be a surmountable curb, so a vehicle can drive on it. So The only thing that's really stopping a private vehicle from driving on it is the fact that it's going to be signed and striped for pedestrians and bicycles. Now, I think the last time we were here, we talked about using bollards, we talked about retractable bollards, we talked about bollards that essentially could be keyed in and then removed. I think what we heard from emergency staff at the city was that that's just going to add time to emergency response time. So this was sort of the alternate that if it looks like a sidewalk and a bike lane and signed like a sidewalk and a bike lane, that hopefully people wouldn't drive there.
Thank you.
This is potentially what it could look like. So you see the image up on the upper hand left, multimodal bikes, pedestrians. This is approximately about 20 feet wide, so this is potentially what it would look like. So the second option is actually making a road connection, so connecting the new 31st Street to East Park Drive. Road connection would potentially be 28 feet wide, could be a little bit narrower if you take out the parking, but two 10-foot drive lanes, 8-foot parking lane, and then you'd have a typical street roadway section, so you'd have boulevard and sidewalks. Obviously, this would be a road. This would allow vehicles, private vehicles, to drive from East Park Drive to 31st and circulate throughout. So those are kind of the two options, and I think at the end of this, we want to kind of talk about if there's a preference and other things that should be considered as part of that connection to East Park Drive. So again, those two options, you can see those in the middle of the screen. The green is that 20-foot wide bicycle pedestrian trail, and then in the gray is that 28-foot wide full street. I'll note that as part of the cost estimates that Bob will walk through, the 20-foot wide ped bike trail connection is in those estimates, and the full street would probably be approximately about another $200,000 from a construction standpoint. From the standpoint of lots, as you see here on the screen, in this new addition area, we're showing 51 lots. If you remember our last conversation, we talked about flexibility in lots, flexibility in lot sizes. I think that we could easily take out lots as needed to support any sort of broader goals around the number of lots. I think in some of our previous concepts, when we go back to thinking about the first 4 concepts that were presented, the lowest number of lots that we had shown was somewhere between 40 and 42. I think that this concept obviously would still work really well by reducing the number of lots. I'll also note that at the end of East Park Drive, we're showing 4 extra lots, 3 on the east side, 1 on the west side. That was a request from city staff just to see what additional lots might look like at the end of East Park Drive, and I think also respond to the gentleman who had some comments earlier about his driveway and the easement. This graphic really shows the different types of lots that are currently being represented in the concept plan. Premier lots, the largest of the lots, highlighted in yellow, approximately about 120 foot wide. In the green, you see there's a series of lots that range anywhere from 100 or from 80 to 110. And then in the blue, we're calling these entry-level lots. These are approximately lots that are about 80 foot wide. A lot of flexibility here as well. We can go wider, we can probably go narrower as needed. It's just really based on, I think, the market and the builders and the size of lots that are being asked for out there from the people who are potentially going to live in this development. So there's a lot of flexibility there. I will note there's a couple of gray lots. They're a little bit smaller. They're the 80-foot lots. They directly face the water tower, which isn't the best of views, but they're just highlighted as gray because those are lots that are going to be a little bit harder to sell, I think, with the view.
John, question for you, how do these lots coincide with the existing lots that are up on Highland Park as far as dimensional size and equivalency?
Well, generally, they're pretty similar. In the existing development, just because of the curvature of the roads, some of those lots get a little bit wider, and we're kind of showing the same thing. I think there is an opportunity if we want to have some wider lots, you would just be reducing lots, and that might be a way to actually taper down and maybe get the lot count into the 40s if we just kind of create a couple more lots that are a little bit wider. I think a lot of that's really just going to depend on whoever is developing the lots, whoever is building in the lots, and the desire of the people who are purchasing the lots for the lot size that they want.
Okay, thank you.
This next graphic really represents trails. We've kind of talked about the amount of open space and the amount of trails. So we're showing about 2.2 miles of trails. Everything in that dash, that is a dash line, is representative of trails. Blue really represents sort of the preliminary conceptual analysis of where stormwater management should happen. I will note that that smaller pond that's right in the middle of the site was originally a little bit more to the west. I think after further discussions, we've moved that further away from those lots on the west side of East Park Drive and just moved it down to essentially the point of where East Park Drive potentially would connect through. Potentially images of some of the trails. You know, we haven't talked too much about the materiality of these trails, but the trails up there right now are really informal. And so the idea is that these trails potentially just could be crushed aggregate, which is the image on the far right, or they could just be wood chip trails, something really informal, just something that could maintain some level of accessibility, but doesn't require a lot of maintenance. So this isn't something that you'd plow in the winter. They would just stay informal. Here's street and landscaping. So you notice around the primary streets, 31st and the larger loop, looking at street tree locations, so in that more olive green. And then landscaping within kind of the open space areas. I'll note that the darker green are representing evergreen trees. There has been a lot of conversations from neighborhood residents about potentially screening this new development. And so we've strategically located evergreen trees, and I think this would be in combination with creating landforms or berms to provide some of that screening for views from existing development into new development. This is just what it looks like if you consider those 4 additional lots on East Park Drive. Basically, you're losing a little bit of screening, but I think in general the screening is going to do a good job of providing that visual buffer. This image is really just an image that shows spatially how much room we have around some of those western edges of the existing development. And then there's some dimensions in there that just kind of give you a sense of how far back spacing some of the new potential lots are to the existing lots, and then overlaid some of that screening again. And so the intent here is really to provide that visual buffer in the form of landscaping and earth embankments and berms to provide as much visual buffer to the new development for those residents that are directly adjacent to the site. Next image here is open space. One of the requirements is at least 8 acres of open space. You can see here in the green shaded areas, that's approximately about 28 acres of open space. And so we definitely haven't maximized development on the site, and we've really maintained a lot of open space. I'll also note that the pink areas are areas of steeper slopes. Generally not going to be super usable for open space, but we will use those spaces for connectivity, and there's approximately about 16 acres there as well. So between the 28 acres and 16 acres, you can imagine a lot of tree canopy, a lot of sort of naturalized planting areas, and then the trail system. And then this last image is really just kind of a rendered plan of the current plan. So you can see in the yellow the residential lots. You can see sort of the open space, maintaining a lot of existing tree canopy where we can, and then adding new trees where possible, especially in the condition where we are buffering from adjacent neighborhoods, the trail system, and then the integration of stormwater management on the site.
Mayor and Council, the next part of this presentation will just to look at planning level budgets. So the development budgets were based on 3 parts, phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. You're looking at phase 1 covered in yellow. That's about 16 lots. Why did we pick that? Because phase 1 does a couple things. One, it provides all the access needed for privately owned vehicles to the new subdivision. It provides emergency access, and it improves the park for the new and existing neighborhood at the same time. So the planning level estimates are really looking at quantities times a unit price. So this would get refined as you continue on. But right now, to do this first phase, 16 lots, total would be a little over 5 million, about 5.51 million. And then you can see each of the expenses broken down. The most expensive part is the road at 2.4 million, and that's really because there's that long stretch of road, about 900 feet, that's got to go down and connect the subdivision to East 31st on the west side. And then what you'll also see is kind of a per lot cost to give you something to compare to. So we've got both the public and the private utilities. We've also got trails and landscaping in there too. And that's the landscaping John talked about, not just for the trees on the new roads, but also the buffering, between the new development and the neighborhood. The second phase is just the addition of some road and 17 more lots. And the cost for that phase goes way down compared to the first phase at 2.1 million, because the biggest expense there is the road. Electric is fairly high, but that's 2.1 million, or about $125,000. And then I think the police chief or the fire chief wanted to make sure we put a note in there about after phase 2 is constructed. You don't see it here, but there'll be a turnaround there constructed so the fire can get in, around, and turn around. So we just wanted to make sure that was noted. Then if you continue on to phase 3, that adds the balance of the lots and an additional stormwater pond, which may or may not be needed. All the stormwater may be able to be handled by the pond on the north, and then the central one that's not shown in this drawing, but just above the access to East Park Drive. So this phase is 2.9 million. Again, it's really the cost of the road, and the next highest piece is the electrical service. So when you put it all together, here are each of the phases, phase 1, 2, 3, totaled, and then a per lot cost provided. So if you look on the left column, down about 3/4 of the way, it'll say construction 2026. These are 2026 numbers. If you look all the way to the right, the estimated cost to construct phases 1, 2, and 3, if it was all done in 2026, will be $10,200,000 for 51 lots. And I know there was some discussion about adding 4 more. At this time, the cost levels are at a level where that could probably be incorporated. The 2 things I want to point out in yellow, if you decide you'd rather do a 28-foot wide full road connecting East Park Drive for privately owned vehicles, this would go up by about $197,000. And then in addition to that, we just put in here in some cost for recreational equipment, playground, picnic shelter, park furniture at about $450. You don't have to put these recreation amenities in. You can pick your own. It's a placeholder. It's some ideas, but it's certainly, if you've got different ideas for park and recreation, you can certainly do that. So if you were to do the park amenities, build the larger road, you're looking at a total cost of about $10,900,000. Moving on to the last 2 slides is to give you an idea based upon the market study of how long build-out would take. Now, I did take some liberty. This is not as aggressive a build-out as identified in the market study. So what I did here was I looked at phase 1 in terms of land development, time for lot sales, time for home construction, and then time between the first and last CO. Did that for 3 phases. So if development occurred at this pace, you could see a build-out sometime over 7 to 8 years. I think 10 years is probably a realistic timeline, but this gives you an idea based upon these assumptions how long this could take to build out. And then the other thing that we added here was property tax and value. So in any type of development, first comes the land development, then comes the housing construction. When that value is created, there's always a lag between the time the value comes on and it makes its way into the assessment. That's what you see here. So at the end of the development period, by the time, if development is all done in 7 years, the full value comes on in year 9, you're looking at about 22 million if all of the houses had an average sale or market value, assessed market value of 450,000, and that would generate about $192,000 in property tax if we use the tax rates for pay 2025. Again, this is to give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of building value and property tax collections, because it will help in your preparation of how you want to finance and pay for this. So with that, Mayor and Council, we're going to turn it back to you. One of the questions, we'll take any questions you have, but one of the questions we're asking for feedback from you tonight is, what is your preference on the East Park Drive connection? Do you prefer 20 or do you prefer 28 feet? And so, Mayor and Council, with that, we'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Streeter. I'll tell you my preference, if we went this direction, would be 20, just emergency vehicles and that's it, and leave it a bike path. But what is the width of the roads that you're projecting? You showed for the extension of 31st. I don't see anything specifically if this 51 homes was installed. What is the width of the road that you are looking at?
So it's just, at the last meeting we met, the council had a preference for a 66-foot wide right-of-way. That's what it is. The road itself, curb to curb, is 28 feet. So you'll have 2 drive lanes, and you'll have an 8-foot parking lane. So they'll be parking on one side, but it won't be striped, so people can park on either side, but there's 28 feet. And then the boulevard will be 9 or 10 feet, and you'll have a 5-foot sidewalk, which will allow for the canopy trees the council indicated they like, which is very similar to the existing neighborhood.
Okay, I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, Counselor?
I see a price per lot of $200-some thousand. What's the going rate for a lot? What's the market rate? Is that close to it, or?
Well, I can tell you in a project in Chisholm, it's more like 111,000. And that's because the cost of the lot development has to do with the makeup of the ground, bedrock, how much road you're building, and the kind of things that either increase or decrease the cost of land. So there isn't, if in a perfect world, if the land was ready to go and everything was built, you're gonna have a lower lot cost. But there's that long extension of road, which is about 900 feet, that drives up the cost. And then I indicated that I think, from my experience, at least in a couple of the cities I'm working in, the electrical seems to be very high here. So I don't think this cost is, for this site, I don't think it's unrealistic. It's what it costs to run utilities, public and private. And we've got actual estimates from the gas company and from the fiber people. We know where they connect, we know the length of the runs, the cost per lineal foot, and all of that we'll give to Betsy. So this cost reflects what it costs to serve public and private utilities at this location. So I don't think you're spending any more money than you have to, is what I would say. It is high, but that's a reflection of, in other projects, there was a lot of ledge rock and bedrock that had to be carved through. Well, that raises the cost. And in another project, there were a lot of wetlands, some that had to be mitigated. So it really depends on what you have to work with.
Mr. Streeter, on this project, you're basing it per lot, and then we've got like 900 feet of road that basically has no residential advantage for the city, so that's being factored in. What is the total length of the road, of all the roads?
The total length of the roads would be, okay, 4,260 feet, and East Park Drive connection is 722.
Is this
Okay.
total cost 10.9 million? Is that in 2026 dollars?
Correct. And that includes all engineering, that's soft cost, hard cost, everything. It's all in.
So can I ask another question then? So if we're only able to sell a lot for say $100,000, then we have to come up with the extra, the city's gonna be paying out the extra $5 million?
Correct.
And if taxes are around $200,000 a year if we sell every single property, so it takes 25 years to pay that off then, before we're break even?
Yeah, it depends how you finance it, but yes, if you can sell a lot for X and it costs 213 on average, you're gonna have to make up the difference. And some of that you can make up with additional increased property tax. I know in other projects I've worked on, they're getting grants for $2.8 million from the IRRB to do this exact same thing, public and private infrastructure.
Can I add on to that really quick? Is the property tax that you're quoting, is that just the city's portion of property taxes, or is that total property
Just the
tax?
city.
Okay,
Just the city.
okay.
So for out 5 million, and if we bring in about 200, granted, it's gonna go up every year, that's a 25-year payback.
Yep.
That would be with, as you mentioned, Mr. Streeter, without any infrastructure funding or grants,
Correct.
which you certainly would go after, leaving no stones unturned for additional support funding, both state, local, and
Yes.
federal, if it's available.
Absolutely.
But that's if we sell 51 units.
Yeah,
too.
you would have to do, basically, you would be building your roads, and then you would be selling your lots after, see what you can bring it down to. And then the city, I mean, every development is built that way as new developments are built.
So, Jesse, can I ask, what's our hopeful life of the streets that would be put up there? Before we have to recapitalize?
Mayor, council, you're probably in 25 to 30 years before you'd have to do a mill and overlay.
Okay.
And Mr. Streeter, this was starting, and Jesse, you might be able to respond with this too, is that's extending our existing sanitary sewer and storm. Well, storm goes to holding ponds, but the sanitary would be hooking up to existing.
Correct.
So, and that was factored in,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, Bolton and Mank worked to develop those estimates, and they worked with the Public Utilities Commission to develop those estimates.
Okay.
And then just another leg off of that first question. To redo all the roads up there, and I'm not gonna hold you to a number, but does $5 million sound like enough to redo everything up there, if we had to redo everything up there?
When you say redo, is that all curb and gutter, sidewalk, or is it just bituminous?
Whatever, well, it's whatever we would hope to redo. So, I mean, I don't know how long our regular bit lasts, but if we have to do curb and gutter every 30 years.
So we would hopefully not need to do curb and gutter, sidewalk every 30 years. You should get 50 years out of that.
Okay.
So, yes, $5 million to do a mill and overlay up there, I'm guessing it'd be in the $700,000 to do a mill and overlay up there.
Okay, so the recapitalization cost up there won't be
Right.
that bad, just to maintain. Essentially, what I'm getting at is $200,000 a year would support the recapitalization of the area for roads and stuff like that.
But I would look, one comment, I think we'd want to go wider than 28 feet.
Yes, that's
28
right.
feet is not very wide. If you have a parking lane and you're driving a 1-ton pickup and you're meeting a vehicle, that is not wide enough.
Well, the 28-foot, we looked at 36, but the 28-foot, you need at least 20 feet for a fire truck, and they're about the biggest truck you're gonna drive on those roads. And then there needs to be some on-street parking. So if you wanna widen it 8 feet, then you would have like Highland Park Drive, and your cost would go up significantly on roads. All roads would go up
Yeah.
significantly.
But it is a one-time cost, meaning safety and ease of access at the beginning of a project is much easier than adjusting that later, because your curb and gutter, your sanitary, your storm, everything is already in the road.
Correct.
So it's a matter of how much wider you make the road and what that calculates out to. But I do agree with what you just said, Jesse, 28 is not very wide. And
Mayor,
yes,
this tax revenue, is that based on, if I read that right or heard you right, all these homes being valued at $450,000?
Yes, so I talked to a couple home builders, showed them this area, and they said, yeah, you know, he built a home for 400,000 to 500,000. Average price, say 450, and then I used the 2025 city tax rates to arrive at that. So I think it's supposed to provide the council with a general sense, but I wouldn't, say this is actually what's gonna happen. It may be higher, maybe lower. It's just to kind of begin to provide an idea of what things may look like.
Sure, I mean, I know we need housing. $450,000 homes, like, is that a demand
Our housing study showed that it was.
at that price range?
Yep.
Man, I gotta get another job.
Along with other stuff. I mean, I likened it to kind of River Creek, right? There's the same value of homes out at River Creek. That's what they were building there.
How many did they build there?
Not sure. I don't know the count. Probably, I don't know, 25, 30 at the most.
You know, what time span was that?
I don't know. Might be that many. Might be 15.
I got a couple questions, I think.
Yes, Justin, Counselor.
I was just trying to go back to where we started. I think we started with those 4 concepts. And I was trying to look at this concept and see which one it looked the most like. And it looks like it's D. And I thought D was one of the ones like we scratched out instantly. And I get why we're here, but like, I think we had some issues with that. I thought, was it not C or B that we preferred?
Yeah, council member, there were 2 items on D. Nobody liked that because the new housing was too far into the green space behind the existing housing, so we essentially eliminated that. Then we looked at the access down on the, I forget now, East 31st, on the hospital side.
Yeah.
And Public Works and Public Safety didn't like that for access. So then we were left with, okay, how do we get an access on the East 31st on the west side? So actually, the draft concept looks probably more like B, where you've got access to East 31st on the west side, except it's not coming off on the south, it's coming off on the west. But the housing in that concept has been removed, that jets into the green space behind the existing houses on East Park Drive.
Yeah, I guess the way I was looking at it is it looks like current version is concept D, but with no exit by the hospital, instead an exit south, and with no additional housing to give more green space.
Yeah, and then I would say with, wait a minute.
Or some extra housing.
With the concept, let's see. Yeah, you'll notice on concept, on the draft concept, there is housing that moves north, but it's basically on the west side of that very long road. But you're gonna see that little segment of road that just sticks out, that's the fire truck turnaround. So while the road itself goes into the green space, the housing was removed north of the fire truck turnaround. So yeah, there is some similarity.
Yeah.
And I think I do kind of like the concept of the bike lane for a safety vehicle. Obviously, my concern would still be private vehicles trying to utilize that same space. But we have that same issue with any of the bike trails we have, I think, so. And then looking at the trail plan, these trails are meant for this community. It looks like if that was the plan, they would have some really nice trails. Is there a parking lot somewhere, like if somebody wanted to visit there and utilize the trails, or would that be, there's no room for that?
No, well, there is room, but it's
Well,
not in this
It's not
plan.
in the plan, right?
Right. And when we did ask staff what kind of park this was, it necessarily wasn't a community park, it's really a neighborhood park. So anybody who would use it would probably just walk out their back door.
And then, I guess I have one last thing I'd like to touch on, but, as far as a community review of this new plan, are we planning on presenting this to the same community so they have an opportunity to review it and give some feedback?
You could certainly do that. That wasn't in the scope, but if that's something the council wanted, that's your call.
Because I think that, I mean, they haven't, I think with our last community meetings were in March, is that
Uh,
what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, let me just, I'll tell you, the last,
I would think with,
yes, March.
I would think with these changes, we would want to bring it back to those people and see what they feel about these exact changes and what this final plan looks like.
Okay.
But to, I think Jay's point too, it does seem like a lot of money per lot, so.
Well, I think the money per lot is based on assessing every lot owner the cost of building the road. So, and that does not take into account, as I mentioned and asked about earlier, grants or any other type of outside funding. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd get enough money to build a street, so all you're selling is lots to build the house.
Right.
But that's, used to be that way. It's not the way it is anymore.
And- And Mayor and Council, there's a healthy contingency in these numbers, because engineering often puts a contingency in there because we're at planning level. Once they get in there and they do some more detailed work, these costs could come down significantly if they don't run into any issues. You know, the biggest issue is that road connecting to East 31st on the west side, but everything else, the soils are good up there, the drainage is good up there, it's flat. It's just getting that road down on the west side, really.
The 31st Street connection you're talking about.
Correct, yes.
Is there a way to break that specific cost out of the entire project?
Excuse me?
Is there a way to break that specific cost out of the project?
To connect the road to East 31st?
Just to see what the cost is if that road was separate of the entire development.
Yeah, we can pull out anything you'd like.
I mean, we would still need it, but
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, as far as a price-wise, because you said that's the significant cost, right? So if that wasn't the significant cost, if it was able to be granted through some other direction, where would that put us, I guess is.
Yeah, if,
Essentially
council
take-
member, if you look at the, if you look at the cost estimates, and it would probably be on page,
24.
yeah, 24, you're gonna see it's 5.1, so you're looking at the streets and storm sewer 2.4 at $152,000. If you go to phase 2, and, you know, you're not building the long road, now it's $59,000 a lot. So you can kind of see, you know, you had asked what is really the impact between this long road and a normal road. Well, it's about $100,000 a lot, you know, when you balance it over the lot. And that's why when you get to the end at phase 3, when you look at, on page 27, when you look at streets and storm sewer, it actually on average is $95,000 a lot. But if you look at it phase by phase, it, you know, the numbers go up and down to a greater degree.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
Councilors, any other questions on the presentation?
Did you get the answers from us that you were hoping to get? Or did you get the, not necessarily what the answer was, but did you get your answers?
Yes, well, we're here to answer questions, and then if the council has any questions after this, you can email Betsy, and she can email us. I think I heard you want a 36-foot wide road?
I mean, you said 36. Jesse, 28, I agree, is too narrow. Does it go 28, 36? Is that what the next?
You could do a 32-foot section,
Yeah, you could do 32.
you know, just to get a little wider driving lane.
Yeah.
You know, 11-foot driving lane, another 2 feet on the parking lane would be a lot better.
Right. So I'll just say this, you know, the amount of traffic using these roads is gonna be
Minimum.
minimal. I mean, Personally, I just think from my experience, 28 feet is wide enough, given the fact that there's no drive-through traffic. It's just people living there. And a fire truck by code needs at least 20 feet. So with 28 feet, even if you have parking on one side, and you'll never have parking all on one side, there's gonna be driveways along the way. So I've seen this in other places that I've worked, and this is, I think it would work fine for emergency vehicles and plowing vehicles, especially if, Jesse and I talked about if you have calendar parking and nobody can park on the street, so the maintenance vehicles can get through there. So when we put this together, we thought, well, what do you gain by another 4 feet? So people who are living there, are they going to be any safer? Are they gonna, what's the actual thing that's gonna be achieved? What are you buying in that 4 feet? And we think it works for emergency vehicles as well as maintenance vehicles. That's been just our experience, but it's your call.
What do we have what do we have up there already? On,
Highland Park,
yeah,
Yes?
30, I wanna say they're 36, they're pretty wide.
It's
Yeah.
36.
But Bob, as you look at this, Mr. Streeter, I mean, the 900-foot section doesn't need to be 36 feet wide, because that's just two-way traffic with no parking, right? So that could be narrowed.
Yep.
But as you get into the residential, then I do agree, I do like the width of the streets up at Highland Park. And any community I've been in where they have wide streets, I've always welcomed it. And again, it's, once your gutter and everything is in line, it is costly to make any adjustment after that. It's better to put it as an upfront cost rather than, and it's continual, consistent with what is in that area right now.
So if I could say, Mayor, what I'm hearing is maybe keep the 28 feet on the long road coming up the driveway, but when we hit the first house, move out to 32?
Or 32, 36, whatever we decide.
Yeah, cause 32 feet would give you 12-foot driving lanes with an
Okay.
8-foot parking lane.
All right.
So I'd give you, that 4 feet makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah. And we do have turns. I mean, we've got one gradual turn, we've got two tight turns.
Mhm.
So, I think width is important
Okay,
as an option.
yeah, we can do that.
I did have one more thing. You mentioned earlier that the cost for implementing electric was higher than other areas that you've worked with. Is there an explanation as to why?
Well, I did ask, and the response I got was, that's just our estimate,
Was that Bolton and Mank or HPU?
HPU.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mayor and Council, we can modify this, and we can, do the 32 and keep everything at 28, except we'll widen it to 32 with the housing. And is it the council's preference to go with the 20-foot East Park Drive connection? Or the 28?
Council, I'll just speak for myself. I definitely would want it to be an access, not an access road, but an emergency road that puts some separation between both neighborhoods, but still gives good access through bikes and walking.
Mayor, we'd plow that in the winter.
Okay?
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You would plow that, though? Yeah, so, still for access. Yeah.
Yeah, I would support that with to keep the division between the two would be crucial.
And Mayor and Council, is there any comment, feedback on the number of lots? Do you want fewer lots? Do you want some time to think about it? And
I personally think it's too many. I think if I were in the market to buy up there, I would want a nice, at least 100-foot lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think less is more. When you're into that price range, at least in my mind and budget. Like if I'm spending that, I want a good size lot to where I'm not right on top of my neighbors.
But that's beside the, if the roads are in there, the subdivision of lots and platting of the lots could be done, that could be determined later. That's really irrelevant, except on your return on investment. Would that be an accurate statement?
Correct, and I think it may, if you reduce the lots by half, it may have an impact on the water lines or sewer, sanitary sewer in terms of what you have to do there, I don't know.
Right.
But yes, but by and large, it's how much property tax you're gonna collect, how much property value you're gonna get, you're right.
And Mayor, I think probably more discussion on that portion of it, because if we keep going forward with this, we gotta know some more numbers.
Yep.
It's just my opinion.
I would agree.
And Mayor and Council, you may want to look at a variety of scenarios, look at 40 lots, 50 lots, 35 lots, and run the numbers and
Yeah,
take that information when you're more informed, or make that decision when you're more informed.
I just look at it as $11 million in infrastructure. I don't want vacant lots sitting around.
Yeah.
I want them to be attractive and to sell.
That's kind of a double-edged sword on that, right? So we're looking at 25 years to pay it off, we go with half of the lots, now we're looking at 50 years.
I don't think
So
half
that-
the lots, but
Right.
40. I mean, I don't know. There's wiggle room, you said, like adjust.
well, and everything is based on, as I mentioned, grants, state, local, federal.
I mean, I support doing something up there. I just want to do it right. I think we're getting there.
Sounds like another working session.
Any other questions? Mr. Streeter, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for the feedback.
Mr. Slack, thank you so much for being here today and presenting. So the main thing you were looking for, Mr. Streeter, was access road being a bike lane versus an actual road,
Yes,
and you did get that information.
and we'll make the adjustment as for the regular roads, and then if you decide you want to present this to the neighborhood, let Betsy know, and we'll happy to help out that way too.
All right,
So thank you.
yep. Thank you. Ms. Olivanti?
Excellent. Item number 2 tonight is an update on the HRA of Hibbing Housing and the city street and some wetland impacts. So Jesse, Pat, myself have all been working on this. Yep. Okay, Pat's still here. Perfect. All right, so we've been working on this with our consultant and Jackie's consultant, LHB. Oh, this one doesn't. I'm just trying to get to the right page. Let's see here. Okay. So in your packet tonight is a picture of the road design, Cobb Cook Place and Mesabi Manor on the 2 locations that they're gonna be at. There's also, in the legend, you can see where the wetlands are in this area, the permanent wetland impact for the road and both housing developments. You can see a little bit about the size of those, and so the wetland impact summary. So phase 1 roadway would disturb 0.837 acres of the wetland. Phase 2 roadway, which starts, you can see where that red line is, right a little to the east of 6th Avenue, right now. So that will disturb about 0.4 of an acre. Jackie, the first housing site, Cobb Cook Place, I believe disturbs about 5,500 square feet of wetlands. And the second one disturbs the remaining 800 square feet or so. So that's that housing site, that's a cumulative square foot or acreage of wetland impacts. So we wanted to bring this in front of you tonight just to talk about what this is looking like now with the road a little bit more fully designed and the 2 different housing sites. A couple of notes on this. And I see that the narrative is not in here. Hey, just 1 second, I wanna read it from the consultant itself. There is a, when she sent this, 1 second here, because I thought it would be in the packet, and my apologies, it's not. Okay. So Heidi Bringman is working on this with LHB for us. And they're doing one consolidated wetland permit for Phase 1 and Cobb Cook Place, the housing site. If we, so the joint permit authorizes all wetland disturbances, is issued by the Army Corps of Engineers and requires local and state regulatory approval as well. Any wetland impacts over 10,000 square feet in size will require a replacement plan as part of the permit application. Where is it in here, Jesse? Is it at the very end where it talks about, so there's a point, is it over an acre of disturbance requires a permit for this particular location instead of a general permit. And so if we go, hopefully, with Phase 1 of the roadway, plus Jackie's Cobb Cook Place only, we hope to stay with a general permit instead of a step-up permit or a particular, how did they label that? There was some verbiage they used, and I'm not finding it in this on the fly here. However, all of that notwithstanding, we do have some wetland credits in this community for wetland disturbance. Pat has done a lot of work along with Tina to find out that we have 9.4 acres, Pat? So we have, the city created a wetland bank back in 1996 or so. As of the last project that was done here, we now have 9.4 acres left of wetland credits. So therefore, this will be covered. We do have enough credits. It looks like the type is correct. They're type 3 credits, which should allow us to do any development anywhere in the city. So that's helpful. It's just the next level of permitting would probably cause a little bit of a delay. So wanted to bring that in front of you to have that conversation. Make sure that when we bring the motion in front of you at the next meeting to allocate some of our credits towards this project, that that you've heard this conversation, had a chance to ask questions, those sorts of things. So, my apologies, I've been running around today at a conference and a tour, so I'm feeling a little bit out of my element here, but with all of that information in front of you, what kind of questions do you have about this road design, the 2 housing sites, and the wetland disturbances that we need to allocate some credits for?
The question I have, Betsy, is on the access road to Cobb Cook Place, the road, it shows the wetlands where a good starting portion of that going south is in wetlands. Couldn't the road have been moved east and avoided that?
If you look a little bit closer, I know the coloring is hard to see, but that wetland goes all the way over the property boundary into Grace Lutheran Church's property as well. So,
No, that's going west. I'm talking
Oh,
about
sorry.
going east.
So if you go all the way east, my apologies, looking at this, we'd have to go all the way over into the HPU site, but even then, we would still, the wetland boundary goes a little south of that roadway where we're planning the design.
Okay.
So,
Mayor, it's really hard to see on this map, but that'd be, if we'd move the access drive to the east, we'd still be crossing wetlands.
Okay,
So, yeah, all the red shows is the impact from the
but
road.
where it is gonna be, okay.
Right.
yeah, it's a slightly different color green but it covers the entire parcel on that
Very
north
good.
side.
Yep.
So do we have a ballpark number on the wetlands we're looking at for the credits?
Yes, so it's 1.529 total acres, and we have 9.4 available, so if
There's
we
no
attribute
issues.
those,
No, there shouldn't be any issues as far as I see.
right, no, we found that we should have enough credits, just wanted to make sure that you had a chance to look at it before you were asked to approve the allocation of those credits. So that'll come at the next meeting to stay on the timeline for road design and development design.
So that 1.529 is for both phases?
Yep,
All right.
yep, both phases and the housing.
Yep.
Yep. The one caveat is if we can separate out the Phase 1 roadway and Cobb Cook Place and do them in two separate permits, we can do a general permit for
Yep.
each side and move forward,
Right.
which then shouldn't add a lot of length to that review, et cetera, so.
Is everything moving how it should be with this project, do you know?
I think now that we have the wetland conversation a little bit more well-defined, we've been waiting for this piece. Yes, I would say so. Jackie, I believe, released her bid package or was going to shortly. So that's all staying on track.
For Cobb Cook Place.
Yep, yep.
So is there, on this road, is there bid package that's going out on our behalf, or how is that happening?
We were waiting on this piece. Jesse, where are you at with the conversation? Jesse's been a little bit more involved with Megan from LHB on the road design and how close we are to bid.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the wetland piece to go through to transfer those credits to make sure that works before we move forward with the bidding documents. Because that's a big piece of this. Yep.
And that'll be-
We're hoping, I think they were hoping by the end of November to have the complete bid package ready for bids.
Okay.
The end of November?
Yep.
And
Question? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you'll notice that on that Phase 1 roadway, if we stop right to the east of where that entrance is, that we have a temporary access to 6th Avenue West that's only for emergency vehicles and those sorts of things, because we can't have a dead-end road of this length in our community due to ordinance. The intention is to berm that or something after this road is fully built all the way through.
So this would be an emergency, like 20-foot wide access at that point?
Yeah,
then,
so
too?
we just pour a mountable curb and gutter
Yeah.
through that intersection and then have a gravel entrance. We won't
Okay.
pave it.
Right.
And since width of a road was discussed in our last, what is the width of this road, Mr. Stark?
Hey, I'd have to look at the design. I think it's 32.
Okay.
Plus the full sidewalk,
Yeah.
et cetera, on
Yeah,
one
just
side.
the paving surface, I believe it's either 32 or 36.
Okay.
I'll find that out for the next meeting.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, I don't believe that we had a parking lane much
No.
on this. It's not gonna be striped for such, because if you look, most of the residential and, where people would be parking to attend to a house, et cetera,
Yeah.
is not on this road.
Right. The sidewalk on this is just, there's no boulevard, it's just curb to sidewalk, correct? So,
It's the sidewalks on the south side,
yes, south side.
yes. I believe we do have a boulevard.
Okay.
Or it's a lot easier for snow storage if you have a boulevard.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were gonna just blade the sidewalk but yeah.
Yep.
And that it was one thing I did like in the Highland is I like boulevards for putting snow. And 10 feet or whatever it is, 8 feet is nice.
Yep.
Okay.
One other note, you will notice that the entrance to Cobb Cook Place is offset from that 6th Avenue West. Just really to guide traffic to
Yep.
use this road until that Phase 2 is built and
Yep.
all the way through. It's just sort of a deterrent, right, to going through that neighborhood, which we had heard from you all initially when we
avoid,
started
yep.
designing this road.
To that point, when we get to that point, can we have like a no through traffic emergency use sign put up there?
Yeah, we have talked,
Yes, we can do that.
yeah, we've talked about that, just to make sure that we keep it for, the intended purpose instead of encouraging any traffic.
But other than that, it sounds like this phase one is moving along pretty well. And then, is it like the same, and I know you don't have to speak for HRA, but is it like the same grant as last year? They'll find out maybe by the end of this year
Yep.
whether they got it.
Yes, so a couple of things. One, they have the grant application request in to backfill the funds that the city pledged for local commitment for the statewide, for the MHFA application. That meeting is gonna happen on December 4th, I believe, at the IRRR. Hopefully by that point, we should have really close to official word for MHFA as to whether she was approved or not at this project.
Okay.
We did not get the initial no. There have already been no's that went out for applications in October. We did not get that initial no, so we're very hopeful that we're continuing to move through the process. The HRA's application scored really well, especially due to the local commitment that the city council did. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that your pledge for those funds was absolutely critical to how well she scored. We have held a housing conversation here with the chairs of the committee, Representative Spencer Igo and Representative Howard. And we've also had a deputy commissioner from MHFA on the policy side be here in Hibbing to look at the project and understand the work that the city and the HRA are collaborating on to bring these projects to fruition. So those have been some promising conversations, but yes, we will have to wait till December to know for sure.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for Betsy?
All right, excellent. Look for that to come next meeting in November. Thank you.
Mr. Krasinski, is there anything we want to do before we talk about the budget? Or was there anything else you were bringing up tonight or no?
I was just going to bring it up to the roundtable.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, we just have people sitting here, that's why I was wondering if. All right, at this time then, we move on to budget updates. Josie, you are up.
One second then.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. So today I am coming back after our previous discussion. So just as a refresher, last time we had shown you a 4.93% increase, and we heard some feedback about wanting to figure out options for possibly adding Cary Lake, and that we wanted to stay within a 6 to 7 at most percent levy. So with that being said, our options just to try to study the levy for the next few years, all of our 4 options are 5.99%. What varies between them is the kind of projects that are included. So option number 1 includes removing Old Highway 169 from Pinter to Marksmanship Road. That reduces the levy $190,000, reducing the airport's levy by $21,000, increasing the future rec center pre-designed project costs from $50,000 to $78,000, and adding Cary Lake Campground Phase up to $303,000. Option number 2 is pretty much the same, except removing the airport levies reduction of $21,000, which causes a reduction for the Cary Lake Campground Phase up to $282,000 instead of $303,000. Option number 3 on the next page is still same options for Old Highway 169 and the future rec center, but instead of doing Cary Lake, we would be doing the memorial building roofing, and then the reserves would be used for the remainder of the project windows. And option number 4 would be same options, except instead of memorial building roofing, we would be looking at doing the city hall windows up to $282,000. So there is a small note on the bottom saying that if we added $60,000 to our levy, it would increase it to 6.51, just as a dollar value of what would be considered around 6.5. We did get some information today. Nick had spoken with Bar Engineering about the Cary Lake Campground, and I have a little bit of information. So we were given two options for 2026 cost. If we went with option one, which was completing all additional work at campground, including shower and bath building, the budget option would be 2.9 million to 3.4 million. Or option two would be completing all additional work at the campground, no shower and bath building, and that would be 2.1 to 2.5 million. Which still doesn't really go that far with 282,000. So I just wanted to give you guys that update because we just got it today. So just as a heads up.
Josie, on your options,
Mm-hmm.
memorial building roofing,
Yes.
what part of the memorial building, there's 7 to 9 roofs?
I believe there's
Nick,
12.
how many different roofs are there?
There are 11 different roofs.
Okay, 11.
Yeah.
So the 282 would be doing what roofs?
I have not picked a specific roof yet. I know we can get above my office and the front entrance. That's one of the older parts and one of the worst ones. That easily covers that. And the back, it wouldn't get the curling club. That's probably the next biggest one. You're gonna have to do that one in a big shot. It would get the whole back Zamboni area if you chose to do that one. But those are probably the two that you would target.
Do we have costs on every roof, all 11
I
components?
do, yes.
Okay.
I can get those to you too, and we can.
Yeah, I mean,
We
as
have
look at
we
this-
have them ranked in priority and
Okay.
broken down by price for each priority, so,
When you ranked them in priority, were you working with a roofing contractor to do that?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think when we originally looked at the project, we were looking at potentially doing the flat roofs because it
Yep.
was the more feasible of
Mhm.
the, versus the domed roofs.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I have a question. On the roof, or like say the campgrounds, is there a reason to hold back and maybe look for matching grants? Or is that ever an option?
Well, I think that's part of our budget ask for bonding for the state. Number one was our sewer lining project. Number two was memorial building, wherever we felt the money would be most needed. That's a repair infrastructure. It's not a luxury thing. So we certainly can go after as much money as possible for that and see what's available.
Well, and then currently, so when we met last time, you guys had given us the input to try to address things that we have currently going on.
Yes,
And we
right.
figured water damage is what we want to try to avoid.
Right.
So I think, after several discussions, I think we think the memorial building roofing would be probably the main priority, but completely up to city council to decide.
That is one of the reasons why we did all our roof, our HVAC, and our envelope of this building in terracotta, because that was what's causing their water damage. So the main components are done here.
So the city hall windows at 282, what's left here for the windows?
Dick, can you respond to the windows, where we're at with that?
City hall windows, we would do the remaining 3 sides, so south, east, and north. And then the west would get new lintels. The windows would stay, they would just get new lintels, and we can do that the way it is. But the rest of the building would get finished with lintels and.
How much
and
grant
windows.
funding and outside funding do we have for the windows, so that people understand we are covering a good portion of it with?
Yeah, we got 600,000 from the IRRR, and then another 350-ish from the Historical Society, Minnesota's Historical Society, I believe, so.
So we're stuck with about 1/4 of the cost of our windows, the rest is all through granting.
Correct.
All right, I have a question. And it might be a kind of a deep question that we can take offline at some point, but I'm curious. In looking through the budget book, the proposed budget book, I'm struggling to know if we're using depreciation the way that we could potentially use depreciation in our taxing levy. Can you explain how we do that, Sheena?
Sure. Well, I guess one thing I'll just touch on is that when you do the accounting between an enterprise fund versus a governmental fund, it is different. Yes, we should still be recouping depreciation and still investing back into our assets, but depreciation isn't recorded on the books for governmental funds like it is for business type activities. So you don't actually recognize the expense on the books. But we do keep track of all of our assets. We do keep track of how much they're depreciating year over year for the government-wide financial statements.
So for the government accounting methods, we can't expense those through tax levy?
Right, it will not be expensed in the governmental funds because of the type of accounting that is done with government accounting. I mean, it doesn't mean that we can look at how much things are depreciating and then recover that, you know, like invest that much back in our capital levy to reinvest in our assets over time so that we're still keeping up with it. It's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not reflected on the actual governmental fund financial statements.
Yeah, it just seems to me that we're doing this like à la carte budgeting. And I know, and obviously governmental fund, you know, budgeting is different or accounting is different. So it just seems like we should be able to take surplus funds if we have them, put them forward to complete some of these projects and then get the depreciation cost back, you know, over the next 15 years and put that back into the general fund. So if it doesn't work that way, it doesn't work that way, but it's.
I would bet a lot of our assets are fully depreciated. So they're probably not recognizing the depreciation expense any longer.
Right, and I guess that's where I'm going, like, we have $500,000 worth of stuff we're trying to figure out how to pay for, right? Is that accurate? I mean, chances are good we could probably find $500,000 if we could recoup the depreciation expense, so. Yeah. All right, thank you. I lost sleep over that.
So what we're asking here, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Prusinski, is what Josie provided with us today is some options. And what's the time frame that you want feedback? And we're having discussion here, of course, today. But at what point do you want feedback from the council? As far as what option, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it might be, that we would want to move forward.
So, great question and a great summary. So, we would like to get some direction during this meeting. Hey, we're comfortable at this level year over year. That was one question for us. We would like to be able to come back to the city council on December 3rd, is the first council meeting in December, and adopt the budget and the levy for 2026. That's our goal. So we have the month of November, 2 meetings, so this one and another one coming up, but also we can do some special meetings if we have to. And maybe the next step is there any feedback right now from the city council on year over year increase, and then of the options that we have here in front of us, do any of those or all of those look suffice, or how do you want to move that forward?
I can start. If it was up to me, I think after this conversation, option 3 is kind of what stands out to me between the 4 options we have.
And Counselor, you're comfortable at that below 6?
Below 6 is good. Even if potentially, looking at, if we could see what roofs we're gonna get done at what rate, like at 200,000 towards the roofing, what do we get done? We could save the 82 and get closer to 5.5 or something like that.
Okay.
I'll agree with John on that.
Kind of the same, like, it was identified to take care of our building, so we don't want to fix the roof on the memorial building, so no other catastrophes happen down there, like with the steam leak. If it's a leaky roof, let's fix it. I want to keep the ball rolling on the community center study that was identified by the public as something that they're very much in favor of and figuring out down the road. And while I still want to finish the campground, I don't think we're going to forget about it. It just needs to go back a few places in line.
Yeah, I think when you brought up the 2.1 and 2.9 million, yeah, 303 is gonna help, but it might be used better elsewhere.
Yeah, at this point.
So then are we comfortable with me then being able to kind of set up the budget books, and then maybe by the next council meeting, I can kind of bring him, have him available to you, and then that way you guys are prepared for the December 3rd meeting?
Based on 3, is that correct?
Yes.
I guess my only concern is we have city hall windows that are, we're looking at, they're out for bid, are they not? Or quote, are they?
They're not yet, but we're developing.
Not yet?
Developing.
It'll be when?
December.
And is there excuse me, if you wouldn't mind coming down, Nick. Is there a sunset date on the funding that we got from both the IRRR and Minnesota Historical Society?
Yeah, there is. It's a few years, a couple of years.
Okay. All right, so I just don't want to lose that funding, that's all. And we need about 282 to complete that project but now there will be an
Correct.
escalation in price, simply from one year to the next. Because those are my two,
Yep, correct,
I hear what John said about the Memorial Building, I agree with that too. The windows, those are the two pieces that I like the most to get completion on. But I know the issues you have with roofing at the Memorial Building, and so.
Is this 282, is that what's not covered by your grants?
That is the price increase from going to a different window that's approved by the Minnesota Historical Society. There was a price difference there when we had to switch windows. So it increased the price a little bit, and this would be the difference to cover that. And back to the grant funding, we have about half of the funds in grant funding. So I think we said a quarter before,
Yeah.
it is half.
Half,
of
okay.
it is in grant funding. It's about a $2 million project overall, and half of it is in grants. But yeah, there was a price increase a little bit with the window type that they would approve. And we wouldn't get those grants without their approval. So,
I remember that,
so yeah,
And there was a compromise, so we have gained a lot of capital as a result of their, Minnesota Historical Society's compromise with the Marvin design that they're
yeah,
looking
with
at
an
right now.
aluminum clad window instead of a fully wood window
Yeah.
like they had initially indicated, so, yeah.
Okay. Then I would agree with Councilors Schreiber and Hildebrand
Okay.
and Josie. I think, if anybody else has any questions on that. Are we good with that?
Yeah, option 3.
So you have your direction you need,
So we're
Josie?
comfortable with 5.99, option
Roughly
3.
in that range,
Okay,
yep.
I can work on getting budget books ready and have them ready by the next council meeting, so you guys can look it over before December 3rd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Przezinski, we will go round table.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. A few things from my office, starting with our animal intake. I sent out an email to the City Council attached to that email was a letter from the Range Regional Animal Rescue Board, kind of better defining what their ask is of the city. So I felt the need to get in front of the city council with it. We'll have to respond to them. I've had a chance to talk to a few councilors individually, but I wanted to talk about that letter and your response and what your direction would be on that. And then I would also like to talk a little bit about the real estate. Remember, the airport board owns that real estate that building is on. We pay a lease, it's an annual lease. I think it goes through 2028. We talked about a buyout option of that 5 acres where that building is. My question to the city council is, do you want me to continue to move forward to acquire that 5 acres? Remember, we own the building, it's on somebody else's property, regardless of the relationship that we have with Range Regional to operate that shelter, or anybody else as far as that goes. So those are the 2 items that I would like to talk about with the city council. So let's tackle the letter first. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at it. And Pete, I know you had an opinion about it. Maybe I'll just pitch it to you and you can start, and then I'm pretty sure everybody else will have a comment to make as well, so.
Well, I mean, myself, I'm very interested in seeing the direction. I know the direction that Grand Rapids has gone, and I think we have to keep it affordable for the city. I did reach out to Grand Rapids. Their contract is for $86,400. You know, I know what their original request from our 5013 was. I think we have to be responsible to our residents, but also the animals that we have to manage. They kind of tie in together. I really personally would not mind seeing the city be out of this business and have an independent group manage a shelter, and we would pay per animal rather than all the access and the intricacies of running a building, paying utilities, maintaining a building. But if we do go to where we are going to own the building, like we do right now, I would want to make sure that we do own the property, so it gives us flexibility to make changes moving in the future. Right now, we're locked in because we don't own the property. And Grand Rapids does own their own building, and they are managed by city staff, but they do not run, they more run a holding component. And they do not deal with cats at all, just dogs. So they have really streamlined how they handle, and they do represent all of Itasca County. I personally would like to follow their model. And whether we're contracting with someone or we're going with our own building again, that if we're just contracting, we only deal with dogs and not cats.
And dogs that are generated through our own need,
Just,
is I think what you're saying.
right.
As opposed to a shelter type of.
75% of our animals, I have asked our blight officer and parking and animal control, Alyssa, 75% are cats, 25% are dogs. So there is a huge cost. And I know we are working, and Candy, I appreciate what we've worked with. Is it Ely or Vermilion?
Yeah, it would be the Ely
Yeah,
technology.
the Ely Tech, where we're working with them on vetting and stuff. So I think we're doing some good things. But, and I will say this, we had this discussion at our mayor's meeting today that I had in Virginia. Virginia's in tough shape too, in the same situation. They are struggling with their animal control too. So I think we have to be, we certainly have to be consistent as we move forward, but I just don't see us owning a building unless we have to in the future. And leasing land, I personally would like to see us purchase that land at whatever cost it is to get out from under that lease, because that's going to project out forever. Even though it's 2028 and new lease has to be done, that could be raised, so we really don't know those answers. And do we need 5 acres, or can we just get 3 acres? I mean, we only need there's probably only about 2-3 acres that is actually used by us, so can we drop the cost by just buying what we truly need with that building? And then in the future, if we don't own a building, we pay for the dogs that we bring in. That's my opinion.
Well, I think I've said from the get-go what I feel about this. And pretty much kind of aligns with what the mayor says. Yeah, I would be in favor of modeling it after Grand Rapids if it's city-run, but preferred would be, like if Range wants to build their own building and buy their own property and land and operate out of that, and then we can talk contracts, fine. I have no interest in having them or really any third-party group come into city buildings and that, and their letter, they stated what they wanted from the city. Well, I would want to know a lot more about them. I mean, Alyssa and other people worked real hard to get that place in shipshape and running right again, and I don't want to, and they're the reason it was a debacle, like, and bring them right back in, like, I don't, have things got better? I don't know, like, they didn't list out all the things they need to do not to lose their license again, if they've corrected any of that, their financials, they got a vet, they have an accountant, where's their money at? Like, I would need to know a lot more, but truthfully, I just don't have any interest in bringing them or really anyone back into that building. And it would be nice to get the land, and if they want to buy it, great, or anybody else wants to buy it, great. I mean, how I deal with it at my job, we contract through a rescue group and we pay per animal, and that would, in my opinion, be the ideal situation. But if we had to maintain this, like an intake, like Grand Rapids, that's the direction I would want to go. I have no interest in that letter and bringing them back in.
I agree. I have covered it pretty well. I'm on the same page.
So Mayor and Council, I did send possible ordinance changes to Andy, and so we will have a legal meeting to follow up with that. And it deals mostly with the cats and what should be picked up and what shouldn't. It's tough to bring feral cats in that are never going to be a good house cat. Barn cats, yes, whatever, but it's hard for the people to work with them, you know. Even animals with, you know, the dogs with bite holds. Some of them are very aggressive, and it is dangerous, so. But there's certain things that we have to, you know, abide by when the police bring them in. And, I mean, I think that's just where we're at. We listened to you, and we tried the intake. Everybody was full this year. It was really a tough year, and our numbers ignited. But I think that at this point, you know, we've kind of exhausted all those efforts to see, you know, what we could do to help the community, and without being in the way of another, you know, like a 501c3 or someone who wants to do sheltering, because I feel like that's where we're at this point. We become in the way, and we make it easy, and it's at the expense of our taxpayers.
You know, if we end up, we have a lot more flexibility if we control the building and the property. Even if we work with a group that has all the right intentions and we agree that they're the right group, working with them to make that building available over a time frame so it's an affordable transition, I'd have no problem with that, personally myself.
Yeah.
But we can't do that unless we own that property. And that's why I think it's important that we push to control the whole environment of where we have our shelter at this point, which is the building we own, of course, the land we do not. And
So, I think 2 action pieces: ordinance change, deleting cats out of the ordinance, pursue the real estate, and remember, we were pursuing that, but because we didn't have an operator named, the board put it on hold. That, my intention was always to acquire that property regardless of if we had an operator named or not.
Well,
whether
at this
it's
point,
RAR or somebody else, because of what we just talked about.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I'm doing the right, taking the right steps and doing the will of the city council, because, I mean, it has been a struggle, right? It's been a year or more, the better part of a year at least. And then when it comes to RAR, would you like us to just cut that tie? It sounds like the answer to that is yes. So we can tell them a firm, no, you're out. Is that true? I think we need to say yes or no or something, because we're kind of in purgatory.
right, we are. At this point, I feel we are the operators, Mr. Krasinski, so I would think that would, the issue of to buy the property, who's the operator at this point, is not the city the operator? So we have that answer.
Yes, at least temporarily.
Yes,
And we're not taking animals from the general population. We're only going to service animals through our intake that are generated through our own need. Police, I'm referring to, is what I think we're talking about. Is
yes.
that true? Yep. And we'll, I mean, we'll have some bite holds. Some of the most challenging animals will certainly be there. Okay. What did I miss?
No, that was the end
Ordinance change, real estate, the RRAR, just, we want to sever that conversation.
I think there's two things. One is what I think the feeling was here, that we aren't looking at bringing anybody in right now until we own that property. At the point we own the property, if we wanted to say who's interested in this building and doing this service,
Okay,
independent of the city, I would be in favor of that.
okay,
If there's a group that comes forward and wants to do that. So I wouldn't specifically cut ties, but what I'm thinking is, I don't want to bring a group in to rent it to manage our shelter.
so,
That's what I'm saying.
so if they wanted to buy that building and real estate, you would consider that?
And then we would also get into an agreement like Grand Rapids has, like we have, whatever, if animal is brought in, if it's owned by someone else, we'll pay so much per animal. But we would just be bringing in dogs.
So my correspondence to the RRAR board would be no on operating for us on our behalf.
Yes,
But if you're interested in the real estate and building, we would be interested in you buying that out. Is that true?
Them or
That's-
anybody else?
them or anybody else, but that's
Right.
kind of the way I see
I'm
it.
just trying to clean it up with RRAR because it's just kind of hanging there and
Yep.
there's this back and forth. I just think it's time to say yes or no, but,
I think it's important that we own that,
okay.
we own the facility, that we own that land, and then we can make different types of decisions. But we have to own that land first.
So then that would be the
Yep.
fourth or the fifth action step would be looping back to the board and expressing our interest in
Yep.
that buyout. So we get that
Two,
back.
and it would be an RFP if anybody else is interested, because the building would be available at that time, if we choose to do that.
Okay. Okay, so I have 4 action steps there. Okay. Anything else on the?
I did have one question.
Go ahead.
So if we change the ordinance to not include cats, and to Mayor's point, was it 75%
Yes,
is cats? That doesn't actually solve our cat problem. Right? We still have now a huge cat problem, and now we're just not gonna deal with it. So what does that look like for the future?
So maybe to answer your question, I'll ask a question. Do you think it is up to the city to address feral cats in the community? Is it our responsibility, animal control?
What's the difference between feral cats and feral dogs or dogs running around? I
So,
guess that's the question. Or if somebody gets bit by a cat, what's the difference to being bit by a dog? Is there differences? I don't know, I'm just asking the questions.
It's a good question. That's why I reached out to other areas, and Grand Rapids is specific. And it'd be a good question that I would have no problem asking them, but they made that decision quite a while ago, and they do not deal with cats.
so I think what you're asking us to do is
I'm not saying we have a solution, I'm just saying it seems like we have a large problem with cats. And if we just don't do anything about it, it's not gonna get any better. I'm not saying that we take cats into the shelter or into the intake, but I think we need to at least meet with the community and figure out what the direction forward for cats is. And I'm not sure what all the options are. Is there feral cats where they do a catch, neuter, and release type of process? Put them back into the community? I don't know.
I hope not.
No, then we're in worse shape than a shelter.
So, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing that I want to let you know too, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people let their cats out. I mean, I have just an indoor cat. A lot of people let their cats out and they come back. So someone will call in, the cat gets picked up, and maybe they don't want to pay to get it out of, you know, the intake, so they don't go and pick it up. Cats go home. I mean, for the most part. Like I said, I don't let my cat out. I know my mom puts hers on a leash. It just depends how you are, but cats do go home.
So, I'm probably not answering your question, Counselor Faso. My apologies for that, but maybe the difference is, I don't think we want to be actively going out and scooping up feral cats, for example, or feral dogs, if you will. If we have an abandoned residence or a domestic dispute, there are animals that get abandoned or animals that are on a bite hold. I think those are the ones that would end up at our intake. So it's a long way of saying, your point is well taken. There are likely cats that would have to be dealt with as well. So maybe some language in the ordinance that would address that is, I think, what you're asking for. But I think what my point is I think we're trying to get out of the business of being an animal shelter. The city running an animal shelter is, I think, the direction we're trying to go.
I would like that.
I would like to see what, and to reach out to Grand Rapids, see what they've crossed this bridge. So rather than reinvent the wheel, let's reach out to Grand Rapids, see how they dealt with it, what their policy is, what their ordinance is, how they deal with this. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel when we have a good model that they're very successful with and are very happy with. We could duplicate what they do.
So, yep, we have their ordinance. We've already got that. I think we have Duluth. We're trying to get an idea of who has the, I mean, yes, we would certainly not have to reinvent the wheel. I think maybe the bigger question is, if we do that, can we do it within our budget? I don't think that we can. But
To do what?
I am not convinced we can do it within that budget, from what I've watched.
I need you to elaborate on can't do it within a budget.
So for 2026, our budget is 102 grand. I think our budget for 2025 was the same, but we're over by 53,000? Staffing, utilities, building maintenance is what I'm getting at. I don't think we have enough in the budget for 2026 to do that, is what I'm trying to tell you.
So we just gotta buy the land and sell the building, and we'll be out of it, right?
Well, and there's another option. You could just cease doing operations there, give the building to the airport authority and just get out of the business altogether and just close it. It doesn't address the issues like you said, Counselor Faso. But the theory would be, if there's a need in a community and government's not in the way, usually the private sector picks up the slack and addresses the issue. So that would be a third option for you.
That would be the ideal situation, to get control of that and sell it to someone else and contract for services. So we don't have to deal with employees and all the utilities and all that kind of stuff.
That's the typical model. And I
Right.
mean,
That's
that's what
the
we've been
model we'd
trying
wanna
to
go
get
if we
to. We
could.
just can't get there. And I don't know if we can without just closing down the operations.
Mr. Borland, is there a state regulation or law or what our responsibilities are as a city regarding animals?
I know city administrator forwarded a league memo around today with respect to those issues. I think there are obligations when it comes to dangerous animals and so
Yeah.
forth. I don't know that there's a legal obligation with regard to other animals. I think once you take one in, though, you have an obligation to it. But I don't know that, unless it's a dangerous animal or fits that criteria, I don't know that there's a state law that requires you, the city, to monitor that or to, I guess, care for those animals or take care of them that way.
And I would concur with that. I'm working my way through all of the different statutes, and there's a lot to it. And we can certainly share that league memo with the city council. The statute talks more about our responsibility when it comes to enforcing it on people that are abusing animals. That's really what they talk about, as opposed to a city or a governmental entity being responsible for shelter animals, if that all makes sense. There's a term in the statute when it comes to how people treat animals. What is it? What is it called? Fair treatment? The statute talks more about fair treatment of animals and whatnot, so, but I would agree with that, Andy.
I mean, in most situations, if cities have animal control or they run pounds or intakes, they don't run rescue operations. Those are private 501c3s. I mean, most municipalities that can afford their own animal control facility, they are pounds and intakes, and not a rescue society that adopts out. It's just a weird situation here, and we gotta get out from under it. So we gotta find a path, but I don't think going back to how we had it is the solution.
Okay, so action steps, I don't think this last couple of minutes, I don't think that changes the action steps at all, do you?
No.
Okay. Should I move on? Unless going once, going twice?
Yep.
Yep.
So, a second item from my office, city council retreat. I would like to take some time, get together, city council, staff, and realign our strategic plan. I'm thinking first quarter of 2026. I'm thinking about a weeknight. It could be after a regular city council meeting. It could be a standalone. I would like to get some city council feedback, and maybe we can get a date or two on the calendar.
I would prefer a Wednesday, just like our council meetings. Usually that's a non-event night for most, other than CYA, but it's not an athletic event night.
So a Wednesday, but a standalone meeting, not following a regular city council meeting.
I have no problem with
'Cause I
that. I
think
think it
the-
should be standalone because of the length that it could go.
And focus, I would agree with that.
If we're gonna call it a retreat, we could probably do like Vegas for the weekend, make it a real retreat.
How early in the first quarter are you thinking, or late?
Oh, that's right, we have a conflict. I was actually thinking January or February. I'm
I can
guessing,
go early February, for me would be better, but I can make, depending on workload, I can make it work. But if it's-
so January is typically not good for you.
January is good, but late January this year is not going to work. I won't be here.
Okay,
My wife is mandating a vacation prior to tax season.
okay. Is that on the calendar yet?
Yep,
Okay, so what,
January 24th through the 30th, I'll be gone.
okay. So, any feedback on January or February or after April 15?
Just check.
Schedule it and
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's go.
The
I'll
only
do
thing
my
I would
best to
ask
make
is
it
check
work.
our legislative priorities, if we have any meetings or anything we need to be down at this Capitol, because bonding is gonna be huge again this year. That's the only thing that I could see, I wouldn't want a conflict.
Session starts February 22?
Isn't it February this year, Greg?
February 22?
Later in February. Okay, but we have like St. Louis County, St. Louis County Days in
So early January?
Chamber.
Timing of the day?
For what dates?
Any date at all. If we were to start at 5 o'clock, or do you want to start earlier in the day? I know some people work, but would you like to do like a 5 to 9 or 5 to 8, something like that?
Sounds good.
All right. Do we want to look at the calendar or not?
Okay.
14th is a Wednesday, Greg.
All right, January 14th.
The sooner the better, as
Okay.
long as it doesn't, before you get too busy, Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Gross?
I don't have to worry about it till February. So.
Okay.
Well,
January
I should
14th.
say last week of January.
Okay. Last thing from my office, I would like to also schedule city council or city administrator performance review. Preference on the month and when we do that, December, January?
Do January 14th.
At 4 o'clock.
How did I know?
That's awesome.
Maybe after the retreat, see how that goes.
Yeah. 10 PM on the 14th.
Anybody else? Feedback?
So January 14th,
January.
Okay, what do you think?
As fun as that
Put it on a
sounds.
calendar.
14th works for me.
You're gonna be out of town on the 14th, aren't you?
I don't know what'll come up, but I'll try to be here.
That works. 14th? All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Sepulveda,
I don't have anything tonight.
I'll ask you 3 times, but no.
Yeah.
Mr. Bayless,
I'm good, thank you.
good?
Yes, I'm good.
Mr. Fossil?
The only thing I wanted to share was at the last Rams meeting, Rams did vote to not increase the yearly dues. So last year, they did raise them and then set an annual raise after that. So they believe that they are in a financially good spot, so we will save some money by not raising them this year for us. So I just wanted to share that.
Good to hear.
And that's it.
Mr. Schreiberger?
I got one quick one here. Just have been reached out from Chisholm Food Shelf. Just to be aware, I think we may have some participation from them at some point in one of our working meetings, that there's a lot of our residents that have been utilizing their food shelf over there. And potential, maybe asking for some help or just being aware of what's going on. I know that they're definitely going through a lot of food. Requests are out there. Some numbers were shared with me, and this was October 23rd. Let's see, what do we have? So far in October, served 40 households from Hibbing. On the day that it was sent to me, 18 of the 51 were from Hibbing on that particular day that had been served. 5 of them were first-time visits. So just to be aware that more than likely we should get a visit from Chisholm Food Shelf, just potentially asking for some support from us since our residents are utilizing that. And that's all.
John, is there any info on why they're going to Chisholm?
I don't know, maybe they got better food.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't-
I'm not familiar with what the Salvation Army is doing right now.
Yeah, and
That's
I
usually
don't,
where people would get it in Hibbing, and I
Mhm.
know that there's been some changes there that have not, maybe not
haven't
gone
worked
great. I
well.
was just curious if they.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the reasoning is, but it sounds like there's a definite increase of, Hibbing residents that are coming over there. That's it.
We used to have the food shelf down on First Avenue too, which isn't there anymore.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, which was fairly popular at the time. And, okay, I had a couple things. Blight, at our mayor's meeting today, that was a big discussion because it's a problem everywhere. But we are getting some information. I have it already on in my computer from Mowabic and Silver Bay, how they've dealt with it and had success with it. So, but it was a huge conversation. Virginia really struggles with it. And then, so I'll forward that to Candy or to Greg, and then it can be, so we can take a look if we want to change. I think we need to be more aggressive. I had spoke with Greg. I just happened to be in a local restaurant, and I heard two people 24 feet apart talking back and forth about the letters they're sent. You get any more blight letters? And they're laughing about it. What a joke. And I'm eating there as these two are talking about our process of how we deal with blight. And that really bothered me. I didn't say anything. I just tried to enjoy my meal with my wife. But there's something we have to do to put some bite into blight and make them a little more accountable. I don't know what it is, but I'd like to see what they do different and see if we can incorporate that. But it's frustrating everywhere. Of our whole mayor's group today, it was one of their number one frustrations in every community. So, then the other thing is parking. I've had a lot reaching out. We've gone to year-round calendar parking. I understand that, and I want to make sure that we don't post every street. And Jess, you said like 5,000 signs if we did every street or something like that for calendar parking.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, we
if
need to make
sign
sure,
every street.
so that's why communication and how we interact with our residents, because, you know, what people are saying, we don't have calendar parking signs on our street. Well, we have two signs coming into the city, one on Howard, one on First Avenue, that say calendar parking is enforced. But you could read that, that's why it goes back to the ordinance, which means the whole city is under that, and that's correct. Mr. Borland?
Yes.
Yes. So we need to get that on Facebook, or we need to get it out in our city informational site so that people understand and know that whether you have a sign, it needs to be done. But if we do have people that request a sign, it would be nice if we could put it up where they ask, if possible. But, so they know they're on the right side.
Would it make sense for us to maybe put like 8 signs on down First Avenue and Howard Street, or on some of the main drives that just say citywide calendar parking at all times?
Well, we need to be more specific.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just to have more generalized signage, not put one on every street, but put them
Yeah.
on the main street so it's more noticeable, instead of just on the way into town.
And Mayor, I have a question. Didn't she say that she gives them a warning first, usually, because she can track whether she gave a warning to that vehicle or
Yeah,
not?
that's not what's
So-
happening everywhere.
Okay. So I thought she stated before, she gives a warning and then, so,
But, and I agree, that's how we should, because we've gone from just wintertime to full, year-round. But I just want to make sure everybody's informed that we follow our ordinance the way it is written. I agree, we could put a few more signs, and there's only 2, one on Howard Street, one on First Avenue, by 39th Street between Hematite and 39th, and then on the entrance by the courthouse. That's the only 2 signs we have. There's nothing on 73, 37, 169. There's no other signs, but you can enter Hibbing on 13th, 25th, 23rd, 39th, 37th. You know, I mean, there's so many entrances. There's only 2 signs in the city of Hibbing. So if that's the situation, we need to inform our residents, and I will follow up with the individuals that's reached out to me, say, this is the rule. But, and they need to know, you know, it isn't east-west on some streets, it's north-south, so there's a difference. And they need to know that, because it just says between 6 AM or 6 PM and 6 AM, I think is what it says. It doesn't, I don't think it notes odd or even on the sign. So we just need to be explicit in our information for this, anybody asks. I can say, go to our website. Okay, that's all I have for you.
Real quick, as my associate in the audience reminded me through text, Grand Rapids does take cats, they just ship them elsewhere, because they get them from Grand Rapids, from Carl to Precious Paws. So,
They don't take them into their intake, though.
Carrie, can you come up and add quick? I know everybody likes talking about cats, but you gotta figure this out. Sorry. This is Carrie, she's with Precious Paws, and has
Carrie
been,
with Precious Paws.
helped a lot with Alyssa and straightening that
Yep,
shelter
so
out.
Grand Rapids, Carl does take them in, he holds them on their stray, and then just like the dogs, he calls out to other shelters to see who will take them. A lot of times we'll take them, they won't be vetted, nothing, we do it all. They don't pay us, nothing like that, we just
Right.
take the cat in. From what I've known about like City of Chisholm and all that, we don't have animal control. So, and then if there's feral cats, we don't trap cats, we don't take trapped cats. The police won't pick up a feral cat. Same with aggressive dogs, our shelter won't take aggressive dogs. So it's kind of like the intake that Alyssa's doing now, we take all the animals from you that we can with the cat wise. We're gonna take some more next week, but we have a contract through till December, so we'll go abide by that with you guys. But if you do go to an intake, you know, just like Rapids too, we are there. If you do get occasional cat in, we can see what we can do to take. Like that, but he does take, it's not a huge thing, because they do have Great Tails, they do have Hero's Heart, that can also take those animals, so he doesn't see a huge rate of cats, mainly dogs.
No, that's what he had said, and maybe that's why he made the comment the way he did, because we sat in my office, I think, Greg, you were in that meeting. And when he told us what he had, he just talked about dogs, that's the only thing he talked about. But I do know, based on what Alyssa has said, when we've had her here, 75% of our animals are cats,
Yeah.
not dogs.
And now that Great Tails will be opening up a shelter itself, he'll probably see a decline in probably cats
Who is
and
that?
dogs a little bit. Great Tails, they're opening up in Cohasset,
Okay.
so they
Yeah, I
might
heard there was
see-
gonna be one over there.
they just opened up, they're building up by, I forgot where it's at, Vince, where are you located? Industrial Boulevard in Cohasset, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
I do want to add one thing. I have had both outside cats and inside cats, so I'm not anti-cat. I had some of the best cats you'll ever see, so. My wife's allergic to them, that's why we don't have zero.
That's it for me? I'm good.
Okay, Jess? Good. Sheena? Good? Andy?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, with that, that's the end of our working session. Everybody have a great night.
Jesse?